The knock that broke her heart. The storm rolled in just after 11 p.m., thunder rumbling softly in the distance as rain pattered against the old farmhouse windows. Sophia was awake, not because of the weather, but because she hadn't really slept in weeks. The silence of her home was heavy, haunted by memories she tried every day to forget. She sat on the living room couch, wrapped in a robe, a half-empty cup of chamomile tea cooling on the table beside her. The baby monitor was still plugged in. Across the room, though the crib down the hallway had been empty for months, then there was a knock at the door. 3 sharp raps, fast, urgent, almost panicked. Sophia's body tensed. No one ever came here this late. She lived on the edge of town, where visitors needed intention, not coincidence, to show up. She walked to the door cautiously and looked through the peephole. Her breath caught. A man stood on the porch, drenched from the rain. He was clutching something in his arms, a baby wrapped in a thin, soaked blanket. Sophia's heart jumped to her throat. She opened the door, just a few inches. The man looked up. He was in his early 30s, with hollow cheeks, tired eyes, and soaked clothes that clung to his trembling frame. "I'm sorry," he said, shivering. "I wouldn't be here if I wasn't desperate. I need milk, please, for my daughter." Sophia looked down at the tiny bundle. The baby's lips were dry, her eyelids fluttered weakly. "She hasn't eaten since yesterday," the man added, voice cracking. "I tried everywhere, no one would help." Sophia's chest tightened. She hadn't held a baby in months, not since. She opened the door wider. "Come in." The man hesitated, then stepped inside. Water pooled beneath his boots as he walked. Toward the living room, Sophia led him to the couch. "Sit down. Keep her warm. I'll get the milk." He nodded gratefully and sank onto the couch, holding the baby close to his chest, as if she were the only thing keeping him alive. In the kitchen, Sophia's hands shook as she rummaged through the cupboard. She still had the formula. She hadn't been able to throw anything out. She mixed it with warm water, her eyes already misting. This was supposed to be for Ava, her Ava. She brought the bottle back to the living room and handed it to the man. His hands trembled as he guided it to the baby's mouth. The little girl latched on weakly and began sucking. He broke into tears. "I thought she wouldn't make it through the night," he whispered. Sophia sat down across from him, her voice soft. "What's your name?" "Daniel," he said. "Her name's Lily." "And your wife?" Sophia asked gently, his face twisted with pain. "She passed away last month. Complications after the birth. It happened so fast." He looked down, swallowing hard. One minute she was holding Lily, the next, something was wrong. "They said it was blood pressure, but His voice cracked. "I don't believe it." "I'm so sorry," Sophia whispered. She meant it more than he could know. "I couldn't keep my job," he said. "I missed too many days trying to care for Lily. They let me go. After that, the rent fell behind. I've been living in my truck the past week." Sophia stared, stunned. "With the baby?" Daniel nodded. "I didn't know where else to go. I remembered this road, my wife once mentioned it, said someone kind lived out here, a woman who helped people quietly. She didn't say your name, just a story. I didn't think I'd actually find the place." Sophia looked at him carefully. "You said your wife mentioned this place." He nodded. "What was her name?" He hesitated. Jenna Taylor." Sophia's heart stopped. That name, so distant, so buried, rushed back like a wave. "Jenna Taylor?" Daniel looked up, surprised. "You knew her?" Sophia didn't answer. She stood up, walked slowly to the window and stared out at the storm. "Yes," she said at last. "A long time ago." The baby let out a soft cry, and Daniel gently rocked her. "She saved my life once," Sophia whispered. "In college. I was going through something dark," she noticed. "No one else did. She pulled me out of it, and then we lost touch." Daniel looked at her differently now. I think she still remembered you. Sophia turned, eyes wet. She told you about me before she died. Daniel nodded. Her last few days. She was tired speaking in fragments, but she said something. Something about Sophia, don't let her be alone. I thought she meant Lily. I didn't know if it was real or not. Sophia's knees gave way slightly and she sat down. Her hands trembled. She hadn't cried in months, but now tears were falling fast. I lost my baby 3 months ago, she whispered. Her name was Ava. She was only 3 months old. Daniel's expression shattered. I'm so sorry. She choked in her sleep. I left the room for just 5 minutes. I've been blaming myself every second since. Neither spoke for a long time. Only the baby's soft breathing filled the room. Finally, Daniel said, I can leave after she sleeps. I just needed help tonight. You're not going anywhere, Sophia said suddenly. Not tonight. You're exhausted. She needs warmth, food. You both do. I don't want to intrude, he said quietly. Sophia shook her head. It's not an intrusion. It's fate. She led him to the guest room, helped him place Lily gently on the bed, and handed him a towel to dry off. She even brought out Ava's spare clothes, soft little onesies folded neatly in a drawer. They both hesitated when Sophia handed them over. You sure? He asked. Sophia's voice cracked. She would have wanted me to. A little later, after the house had quieted and the storm softened outside, Sophia walked back to the hallway and stood near the guest room. The door was open a crack. She could hear Daniel humming softly to Lily, trying to lull her to sleep. But then, suddenly, headlights flashed through the window. A car pulled up. Sophia stiffened. No one should be coming here this late. Not after midnight, not in a storm. Then, another knock at the door. This one was slower, louder, official. Sophia walked to the door and looked out. A man in a police uniform stood under the porch light. She opened the door cautiously. Ma'am, he said. Polite but cold. Sorry to bother you. We're looking for a man. Seen him in the area. He handed her a printed photo. Daniel. Wet. Holding Lily. Sophia's heart pounded. What's this about? She asked carefully. The officer's eyes narrowed. Just routine. Says here he's wanted for questioning. In connection with a suspicious death. Sophia stared at the photo. His wife? The officer gave a tight smile. Can't say. It's early in the investigation. Have you seen him? Sophia's hands were ice cold. Her voice shook. No, she said. The officer squinted at her. You sure? Yes, she said. No one's been here tonight. He lingered for a moment, then gave a polite nod and walked back to the unmarked car. It disappeared down the road. Sophia locked the door quickly and leaned against it. Daniel stepped into the hallway. He was holding Lily, wide awake again. You didn't tell me you were being hunted, Sophia whispered. Daniel looked pained. I didn't kill her, I swear. Then why are the police after you? He looked down at his daughter. Because someone wants me gone. Jenna. She didn't die from childbirth. She was poisoned. Sophia froze. Daniel's eyes met hers, brimming with fear. And the last thing she said was your name. Buried ties. Sophia stared at Daniel, her breath caught halfway in her chest. What did you just say? Daniel cradled Lily tighter. Jenna was poisoned, that's what I believe. And her last words, she whispered your name. I thought I misheard at first, but it was clear. Sophia. Then she said something like, don't let her be alone. Sophia backed away slightly, heart pounding. The past was rising fast, crashing into the room like a wave. She hadn't spoken to Jenna in over 10 years. They'd been best friends. Once sisters in spirit. But then, one day, Jenna had vanished from her life completely. No calls, no messages, no goodbye. Just gone. Daniel, Sophia said slowly. Jenna and I haven't spoken in over a decade. Why would she say my name? I was hoping you could tell me, he replied, lowering his voice. Because whatever happened to her, it wasn't natural. Sophia glanced toward the baby. Lily's tiny chest rose and fell steadily. Daniel continued. Right before she collapsed, she was writing in this notebook, pages torn out. I only found pieces of it, but one thing stuck. She circled your name twice. He reached into his backpack and pulled out a crumpled slip of paper. Sophia took it carefully. It was a scrap of lined paper, smudged and half wet. In the middle, her name, Sophia Langston, written in Jenna's unmistakable loopy handwriting, circled twice in ink. Next to it, scribbled almost illegibly, she never knew, protect Lily. Sophia felt a chill crawl down her spine. What? Didn't I know? She whispered. Daniel shook his head. I don't know, but it scared her. She was scared in those last days. She didn't trust anyone. She barely let me hold the baby. Sophia's mouth felt dry. She sat on the edge of the couch, her voice distant. Jenna and I, we were like sisters in college. She was wild and brave. I was shy and lost. She helped me find my voice. What happened? Daniel asked gently. Sophia looked down at her hands. One day she just disappeared. I thought it was something I did, but I never knew why. Daniel sat across from her, Lily now asleep in his arms. There's something else, he said. A man started following me a week before Jenna died. Black SUV, sunglasses, pretended to be a social worker, said Jenna had secrets, tried to convince me to hand over Lily. Sophia's face twisted in disbelief. What? Why would a stranger want your baby? Daniel's eyes were dead serious. I think it's all connected. Jenna's death, the fake cop at your door, the name she left behind. You. Sophia swallowed hard. For the first time in months, fear replaced her grief. But there was something else too. An ache she hadn't felt in a long time. She needed to know the truth. The next morning, the storm had passed, leaving the air crisp and quiet. Sophia served oatmeal and coffee at the kitchen table while Daniel fed Lily a warm bottle. The baby seemed calmer now, more alert, her cheeks gaining color. Daniel looked up from the bottle. Thank you. For everything. Sophia nodded. I'm not just doing this out of kindness. He tilted his head. I want to know what happened to her. She said, I want to know why she disappeared from my life. And if she really was killed, I want the person responsible to pay, Daniel exhaled. Then we need to go back to her old place. Maybe there's something she left behind. Sophia hesitated. You mean the apartment in town? He shook his head. We moved after Lily was born. Jenna didn't feel safe anymore. We were living in an old cabin outside Edgewater Lake. Off the grid, no neighbors for miles. Sophia felt a shiver. He added, but there's something else you need to know before we go. She looked at him, bracing herself. She kept a file in a locked box. I never saw it, but she said if anything ever happened to her, to give it to someone named Dr. Ellis. She said he knew everything. Who's Dr. Ellis? Sophia asked. No clue, but I found this tucked under the crib. He pulled out a business card. The name, Dr. Howard Ellis, MD, Pediatrics and Neonatal. Genetics. Sophia narrowed her eyes. Why would Jenna be involved with a neonatal geneticist? Daniel shrugged. I think Lily's birth uncovered something. Maybe medical, maybe not. Sophia studied the card. We'll find him. But first, we go to the cabin. Later, that. Day, Edgewater Lake cabin. The cabin was small, worn and half covered in ivy. It sat in silence under a canopy of trees, looking forgotten. Daniel carried Lily, and Sophia walked beside him holding a flashlight, even though it was daytime. Inside, the place smelled of cedar, dust, and something faintly sweet, baby lotion. And old memories. Daniel led her to the bedroom. She kept a box under the floorboard, right here. He knelt and pulled up a loose plank. Nothing. He frowned. It was here. I saw it last month. Sophia scanned the room, her eyes narrowing. Something was wrong. She opened the closet door. Empty, except for a single blue baby blanket hanging. On a nail, she touched it and froze. A symbol was drawn on the inside. A circle with a line split down the middle and 2 letters scribbled beneath it. D.E., she whispered. Dr. Ellis? Daniel stared. She hid clues. Suddenly, Sophia noticed something strange about the dresser. She opened the bottom drawer, and underneath the clothes was a leather-bound notebook. She picked it up carefully. Inside, Jenna's handwriting filled every page. Some entries were normal, daily thoughts, grocery lists. But then, halfway through, the tone changed. I'm being watched. Someone knows about Lily. If anything happens to me, find Sophia. She has the right to know. She's not just part of my past. She's part of this. Ellis said there may have been a switch. I thought it was impossible, until I held the blood results in my hands. Sophia's knees buckled. What switch? What was she talking about? Daniel's hands were shaking. Let me see that. They flipped to the last entry. Sophia's daughter, Ava, and Lily. They're connected in ways she doesn't. No, Ellis confirmed it, but it's not safe to say more here. Sophia's face went pale. What does she mean they're connected? Daniel stepped back, looking equally stunned. Suddenly, a loud bang outside. They both froze. Sophia peeked through the curtain, a black SUV, parked just beyond the trees. Get down, she hissed. Daniel ducked. Lily stirred in his arms. Sophia crawled to the back door and motioned for Daniel to follow. They slipped out silently and disappeared into the woods behind the cabin. Whoever was in that SUV wasn't just lost. Someone had been following them. That night, back at Sophia's house, they returned just after dark, heartbeats still high. Sophia locked the doors, pulled the curtains, and paced the room. Jenna thought Lily and Ava were connected, she said aloud. But how? They weren't even born near each other. Daniel opened the notebook again and flipped to a folded slip of paper stuck between the pages. A copy of a DNA test. His name, Jenna's name, and Ava Langston. Potential biological link. 87%. Sophia stared at the paper. What does this mean? Daniel was speechless. Are you saying, she whispered, Lily and Ava were related? Were they switched? Before either could answer, Lily began to cry. Sophia picked her up. Her hands trembled as she looked down into the baby's eyes that suddenly seemed familiar. Then it hit her like lightning, the curve of the cheek, the shape of the nose. She gasped. Daniel whispered, What is it? Sophia's voice cracked. This isn't your baby. The baby that wasn't mine. Sophia held the baby to her chest, but something inside her cracked wide open. This isn't your baby, she whispered again, barely believing her own words. Daniel's face turned white. What do you mean? She stared down at the child, at the soft little mouth, the familiar eyes, the shape of the ears. Details she hadn't noticed before in her fog of grief, in the rush of danger, but now they screamed at her, because I think... She's mine, Sophia said, voice trembling. Daniel stepped back, shaken. That's not possible. I was there. Jenna gave birth to Lily. Sophia turned the DNA slip around. Then why does this paper say Ava and Lily share 87% biological match? That's not just coincidence, Daniel. That's maternal. Siblings, maybe. Or even a switch. Daniel sank into the nearest chair, holding his head. Are you saying you think our babies, mine and yours, were switched at birth? Sophia's eyes were already filling with tears. It's starting to make sense. I had Ava in the same hospital where Jenna was supposed to give birth. We didn't even know she was in labor then. Maybe she came early. What if... She paused, unable to say it. What if someone intentionally switched them? Daniel looked devastated. Why would anyone do that? Who would take two innocent babies and... Sophia's voice turned quiet. The same people who followed you. The same people Jenna was hiding from. She knew something. She picked up the DNA paper again. It's not just about us. It's about Lily and Ava. Jenna said Dr. Ellis knew the truth. If we want answers, we have to find him now. Later that night, on the road, with Lily asleep in the back seat and Sophia clutching the only address they had, she and Daniel drove through the empty highway toward a quiet clinic. On the edge of town, Dr. Howard Ellis. It was their only lead and time was running out. The clinic was dark by the time they arrived. But a small light shone from the office upstairs. They knocked. An older man in his 60s opened the door, slim, sharp-eyed, with silver hair and a cautious expression. "Dr. Ellis?" Sophia asked. "Yes." She hesitated. "My name is Sophia Langston. Jenna Martinez sent me. Before she died, she told Daniel," she pointed toward him, "that you had answers. Something about our children, something urgent." Dr. Ellis froze, then slowly he stepped aside. "Come in." Inside the office, a shocking revelation. Dr. Ellis poured tea with trembling hands. "I hoped this day wouldn't come," he said quietly. "But I suppose Jenna was right to prepare you." Sophia leaned forward. "Please, just tell us the truth." Dr. Ellis sighed. "Years ago, I worked on a private genetic research project funded by a medical foundation. It was supposed to be harmless, just mapping gene markers for future health planning." He looked at Sophia. "But what we discovered was something far bigger." Daniel frowned. "What do you mean?" Dr. Ellis opened a drawer and pulled out a file with the hospital's logo on it. "Both you and Jenna delivered at the same hospital, same night, same floor. You were both flagged for something in your prenatal screenings, markers we'd never seen before. The foundation took interest. Without your knowledge, your babies were placed in the experimental watch list, monitored secretly, their DNA tested." Sophia's mouth dropped open. "Are you saying they used our newborns for an experiment?" Ellis nodded slowly. "Not in the traditional sense, but someone inside the hospital believed Lily, Jenna's biological child, had a rare immunity to a neurodegenerative disease. We were researching. There were whispers of funding tied to her genome." Daniel looked horrified. "So, they wanted her?" "They wanted both," Ellis said. "But Lily's markers were rarer. The night Jenna gave birth, she lost too much. Blood, chaos broke out. Somehow, someone in the hospital staff made a switch. You, Sophia, were too sedated to notice. And by morning, the babies were gone to their assigned parents." Sophia clutched her chest, breath tight. "And Ava?" Ellis's expression softened. "Still alive, still yours, but raised by Jenna under a different name," Daniel whispered. "So the baby I've been calling Lily is Ava." Ellis nodded. "And the child you buried, Sophia, wasn't your biological daughter?" Sophia broke down. All those nights she sat by Ava's grave, all the guilt, all the grief, for a child who wasn't biologically hers. But worse, her real daughter was alive, and she had no idea. Back at Sophia's house, the weight of truth. After returning home, neither of them could sleep. Lily, or Ava, lay quietly in her crib, sucking on her fingers. The room was silent except for her soft breaths. "She doesn't know," Sophia whispered. "She has no idea who I am." Daniel rubbed his eyes. "But she loves you. I can tell. She looks for you when you're not there. She smiles when you walk in." Sophia blinked fast. "But I missed her first words, her first steps, her first everything." "You didn't lose her," Daniel said. "You just found her again." Sophia sat beside the crib and watched the child sleep. "What do I do now? What happens when Ava grows up and asks about her real parents?" Daniel sat next to her. Then you tell her the truth, that her mother was a fighter, that she died trying to protect her, and that her other mother spent years grieving without knowing the baby she lost wasn't hers. Sophia's voice broke. But what about your life? You're not her father, not biologically. He gave a sad smile. No, but I loved her before I knew that. That doesn't change overnight. A sudden knock interrupted them. 3 slow, hard knocks. Sophia and Daniel exchanged looks. Another knock, louder. Sophia peeked through the window. The same black SUV, parked under the street lamp. She stepped back. They're here again. The break-in seconds. Later, the lock jiggled. The front door shook violently. Daniel grabbed Lily from the crib while Sophia dashed for the back exit, but it was chained. Too late. The front door burst open. 2 men dressed in black stormed inside. No badges, no words, just purpose. One lunged for Daniel, grabbing his arm. "Give us the baby!" Sophia screamed, throwing a lamp at the intruder. It smashed, missing his head by inches. Daniel twisted out of his grip, clutching Lily tight. Then from the hallway, an unexpected voice. "Put her down now!" A third figure entered. Slender female, holding a gun, steady hands, dark coat, sharp eyes. She pointed the weapon straight at the 2 intruders. "Back off," she said, "or I start counting bullets." They froze. Sophia stared, breathless. "Who are you?" The woman didn't lower her weapon. "Call me Agent Rivas. I'm with Child Protection Services Deep Division. I've been tracking these men for months. Human DNA trafficking ring, illegal medical trials. Jenna was one of our whistleblowers." Sophia blinked. "You knew Jenna?" The woman nodded. "She died trying to bring them down, and she knew they'd come after her baby." Daniel held Lily tighter. "But the baby was switched." "I know," Rivas said calmly, "which is why we need to move you both. Now." An hour later, safe house, the baby slept peacefully as Sophia sat in the borrowed safe house, trying to absorb everything. Jenna hadn't abandoned her. She'd been trying to protect her. Lily wasn't gone. She was here, sleeping just feet away, her real daughter. Daniel poured a cup of tea and sat beside her. "I can leave tomorrow. Let you start over with her." Sophia looked up. "No." Daniel looked surprised. "She knows you. She needs both of us. And you risked everything to keep her alive. I couldn't have found her without you." He smiled faintly. "So, what now?" Sophia looked down at her daughter and touched her tiny fingers. "Now," she whispered, "now we make sure the people who did this can never do it again." The final name on the file morning crept in slowly. At the safe house, the baby stirred in her crib, yawning, her little hand reaching for the sunlight falling across the blanket. Sophia stood watching her, tears in her eyes, not of sorrow but something closer to healing. Daniel walked in, 2 mugs in hand. "She slept all night," he said softly. "You did too." Sophia gave a fragile smile. For the first time in months, but peace wasn't going to last long. Agent Rivas had returned before dawn with a plain manila envelope. She laid it on the table and pushed it toward them. "This," she said, "is everything Jenna left behind. Her file, her final message." Sophia reached for it with shaking hands. Inside the file, the truth unmasked. There were photos, hospital, logs, emails, even audio recordings. Jenna had uncovered far more than they'd imagined. The documents traced the unauthorized DNA experiments back to a company called Medicine Labs, disguised as a foundation funding prenatal care in underserved areas. On the surface it seemed charitable, but deep in the fine print were words that chilled Sophia to her bones. Biosequencing for exclusive pharmacological research. "These babies weren't just swapped," Rivas said, her voice hard. "They were tracked. Their genes were being catalogued like property." Sophia flipped to the last document, a list of names tied to the project. doctors, executives, and at the very bottom, in bold, Board Director Marjorie Vance. Sophia's hand flew to her mouth. That's my mother's name." Daniel looked stunned. "Your mother?" Agent Rivas frowned. "You never mentioned her involvement." "Because I didn't know," Sophia whispered. "We haven't spoken in years. She disapproved when I chose to be a single mom. Cut me off. I didn't know she was funding hospitals, let alone—" Her voice broke. "My own mother was behind the switch." Rivas nodded grimly. "Looks that way, I'm sorry. A dangerous confrontation." That afternoon, Sophia made a decision, one Rivas didn't fully agree with. "I need to face her," Sophia said, steady now. "I need answers, and I need her to admit what she did, on record." Rivas sighed. "We can't protect you if she senses a trap." "I don't need protection," Sophia replied. "I need the truth." With Lily strapped in her car seat and Daniel beside her, they drove to an estate nestled in the city's wealthiest district, gated, guarded, glass everywhere. The kind of place that echoed power. Sophia hadn't been there in nearly 5 years. The butler opened the door, stunned to see her. "Miss Langston?" "I'm here to see my mother," she said. "It's urgent." Moments later, Marjorie Vance walked into the sitting room, elegant as ever, dressed in pearls and confidence. She froze at the sight of Lily. Sophia didn't wait. "Is she familiar?" Marjorie's expression shifted slightly, but just for a moment. "I'm surprised to see you," she said coolly. "Cut the performance," Sophia snapped. "You helped fund the hospital where my baby was taken. You were on the medicine board. Tell me the truth. Did you know they switched my child?" A long pause. Then, with unnerving calm, Marjorie said, "Yes." Sophia's heart dropped. "Why?" she whispered. Marjorie clasped her hands. "Because you weren't fit, Sophia. You had no job, no partner, no security. I tried to guide you. You refused. So I made a choice, one I knew you'd never understand." "You gave my baby away," Sophia said through gritted teeth, "like she was a broken toy." "She was placed in a better position," Marjorie said coldly. "Jenna had resources. She was part of the program. She could keep the child safe." Sophia stared at her, shaking. "She died protecting her. That's what your better plan got her." For the first time, Marjorie faltered. Sophia pulled a small recorder from her purse and placed it on the table. "Say it again," she said. "Say it louder." Marjorie's face twisted. "You think this will ruin me? I am medicine. I built it. You're a scandal waiting to happen, Sophia. A woman who couldn't keep her baby alive." That was the final blow. Daniel stepped forward, his voice steady. "She did keep her baby alive. You just didn't know it." He picked up Lily, who cooed softly in his arms. Sophia whispered, "Goodbye, Mother." They walked out, leaving the recorder on the table, still blinking red. 1 month later, justice delivered. The story broke like a bombshell across national media. Elite medical board funded baby swap for genetic research. Whistleblowers. Death tied to cover-up. Agent Rivas handled the prosecution. The FBI raided medicine labs. Dr. Ellis gave testimony. Daniel and Sophia's story became the center of a criminal investigation into bioethics, parental rights, and experimental abuse. Marjorie Vance was arrested on charges of conspiracy, child endangerment, and medical malpractice. But Sophia declined. "All interviews. I just want to go home," she told reporters. 6 months later, a new beginning. Sophia stood in the garden of her small countryside home, far from city noise, courtrooms, and trauma. The air smelled of lavender and peace. Lily, now legally Ava again, ran barefoot on the grass, chasing butterflies with a squeal. Daniel sat on the porch steps, sipping lemonade, his sleeves rolled up, smiling as he watched her. "She's growing fast," he said. Sophia nodded. "Every day I see more of Jenna in her, and sometimes I see me." Daniel looked at her, quieter now. "And what about us?" Sophia hesitated, but then she took his hand. "You were the only person who didn't give up on her," she said. Or me. I'd do it all over again, he said. I know, she whispered. He leaned in gently. May I? She nodded, and he kissed her. It wasn't dramatic. It was soft, real, and exactly right. Ava ran toward them, giggling, holding out a crushed flower. Look, Mama! For you! Sophia bent down and hugged her, laughing. It's beautiful, baby. Thank you. Final scene, the grave. Revisited weeks. Later, Sophia visited Ava's old grave, the one that bore her name. She laid down fresh flowers and placed a tiny letter beside the stone. The letter read, "To the child I grieved for, and to the child I found again. Your name may not be written here, but your memory gave me strength. You were the light that led me back to her. Love, Mom." She stood in silence, hand over her heart. Then she turned and walked toward the future. The end.